stop and smile, 'cause it's been a while. It's been like a whole day since I stopped so you could hold me. But this child awaits, strong in the faith. Lord, you are the refuge that I can't wait.
Well, good morning. We're here today at Old Walnut Street for a school-age youth summit. In fact, this is a mini summit that is a pre-activity for our major community youth summit that's coming up. And today we're addressing barriers to success for school-age youth. So we're excited to have a participating group of young people as well as many community partners that are here to help facilitate this dialogue. Our intent is to come away with some suggestions, some actionable recommendations that can help us to begin to think about how to overcome barriers to success for school-age youth. And what we mean by that is when we define success for young people, it's really a simple proposition. We want young people to do well, and that is to do well at home, do well at school, and do well in their community. And, you know, that sounds like a simple proposition, but in fact, we have information that suggests that we have too many of our children not doing so well. And the school system is here to share some of that data. So we're going to hear from representatives from Jefferson County Public Schools that will look at disparities when it comes to school suspension, disparities when it comes to academic achievement. And then we're going to hear from some of our community stakeholders in terms of the importance of that. In fact, today is all about youth voice. So as we break out into small groups, our youth are going to be responding to questions of facilitators. And basically, we're trying to find out what we need to do differently in order to get a different outcome and help more kids be successful. So stay tuned. Program started, we're going to be working around a little bit of a technical system, so I'm going to get some hard copies of your presentation out in just a minute. But let me welcome everybody here this morning and thank you for being here. This is a mini summit activity for school-age youth, and I'm going to turn this program over to our co-chairs for the planning of this activity. I want to first thank both of them for doing a great job of getting us organized for this day. Phyllis Wallace of the Public Bank and Major Andrew Brown PD have helped us to organize this time. And we want you to know that basically this is a pre-activity. This is an activity that leads us to a full community summit on school-age youth. So today is about getting a good handle on what the youth have to say about solutions to barriers that get in the way of them being successful. And we're talking about being successful at home, at school, and in the community. So I want to invite Philip up, and you take it from here, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So Kevin pretty much, you know, did the full thing. He kind of told you all what it's about and what we got going on, you know, as far as today. And basically, today is just about getting the voice and hearing from the ground up, you know, what's going on, what can we do to create, a solution. And by doing that, we decided to do a mini summit, which is basically simply, getting together a small number of people. We've had some help throughout the last couple of weeks from the LCCC working through here. And we basically came up with some points and questions that we feel are important, as far as, aspects that are going on in the community today, not just in the community, but as well as in the family home, as well as in school. So with that being said, my name is Philip Thomas. I, take pride in as far as my community, but at the same time, a proud member of the LCCC board, co-chair of this situation with Major Brown, which has been great working with her. I'm actually a Public Bank, been in banking for over 5 years, right on 22nd Broadway. Thankful to work for a company like that. It gives me an opportunity to be able to kind of do stuff like this. I'm a 503, born and raised on 43rd River Park, so I kind of understand both sides of the fence. And like I said, today, something that's I think that is really gonna take off. I think it's gonna be something major where when we get this information and we get down to the nitty gritty, like I said, it's gonna be some real good substance at the bottom of it. I will tell the youth today, this is a time to let it loose, speak up, ask questions, talk. It's a good day for you guys to be able to kind of, let your voices be heard. I want to thank, my LCCC board, Ms. Brian Freeman, she's not in. I look forward to working with Mr. Sam Watkins as well as Kevin this year. So what we'll do now is kind of bring you to the introduction of Brooklyn Osborne, which is the LCCC summer youth worker. She's worked, tremendously with us the last couple of weeks, and real intelligent young lady. So if you could, I'd like to invite Brooklyn up.
Good morning. Good morning. Y'all can be better than that. I say good morning. Good morning. Yeah, it didn't work the second time either. Anyway, this mini summit is basically for the youth. It's for their voices to be heard. It's basically to hear their voices and their point of views, because it's mainly affecting them. It's affecting their growth and their potential to success in life. They need to be heard. Don't be scared to not speak. Come on now. I heard most of y'all talk this morning. Y'all can talk. We just want to hear what y'all got to say. It's basically it. Okay.
All right, up next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Krista Drescher-Berg. She's from Jefferson County Public Schools. She took the time to really actually work with another colleague that helped out on the kindergarten readiness. Took the time to kind of bring up some data. I think we were going to put it on the screen, Ms. Krista, but I think it's just, you have hard copies, right? No. You don't? Okay. I'm sorry? Yeah, okay, so fine. So what we'll do, before we bring Dr. Berg up, what we'll do, I'd like to introduce Major Brown. I'll tell you, me and her met just a couple weeks ago, and real good, woman, really passionate about what she does. Of course we see her in the suit, but outside of the uniform as well. So without any other regards, Ms. Major Brown.
I guess I have to say a few words. First of all, I appreciate you all being here today. This is very important, not only to me, but to the youth and to our community. They are our future leaders. And oftentimes we get together in forums and as adults, and we talk about what things are supposed to look like and what's good for our youth. But we never really try to reach out and engage our youth to find out from them what it is that they need. And so today we're going to utilize this forum to listen. We've got a list of questions that we're going to ask, and we want the youth to dissect these questions, think really hard about what's being asked, and we're going to have some good conversation, good open conversation about the questions that we're presenting to you today. And what we hope to do is just not only hear what you're telling us, but eventually we're going to act on it. Now, I'm not going to promise you that we're going to fix the world, all in 30 days, or I think we're going to meet again in September. But this is going to be a starting point for us to start working on some of the issues that are affecting our youth in the community today. So thank you for being here. I know it's sometimes difficult to get up early in the morning. I am not a morning person, but I do appreciate each and every one of you youth leaders that are here today. I was one of those kids that didn't want to do anything in the summer, but my mother always made us get up. She always had something planned for us. We go kicking and screaming. We had fun, and I think we all turned out pretty good, my siblings and I, because my mother made us go and do things. So it's okay to be different when everybody else is sleeping in and doing whatever they want to do in your neighborhoods, and you have to go outside and the neighborhood and do something positive. Just know and remember, it will pay off in the future. So thanks for being here. Hope you have fun.
Actually, still waiting on some copies for Dr. Burr. So what I would like to do is invite Delquan Dorsey, another actually, friend of mine, but at the same time, passionate about the community, born and raised here in Louisville. Worked under the governor for a while, and then also, at JCPS now. So if you could, Delquan, just kind of introduce yourself.
All righty then. How y'all doing this morning? Good morning. All right. My name is Delquan Dorsey. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for Jefferson County Public Schools within the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Poverty. And I just want to say on behalf of JCPS, thank you for being here. Thank you, LCCC, and everyone else for participating. It's really important. It's really challenging to actually hear from the youth in a lot of the way we set up in our community. We all say we want it, but as soon as the young people start talking, then that's when, the adults erupt them and get in the way and take up all the airspace. But today, we set aside this time wholly because not only do we want to hear from you all, we know in order for our community to have the solutions it needs, we have to not only hear from you all, but we need to engage with you all to make that happen. And so hopefully today, it's about you all setting an example of not only speaking out, but speaking out with the intent of providing the action behind that. And letting the adults know that yes, it's good to hear from them all the time, but if we're gonna make it work, we have to hear from everyone. And so please be engaged. Please, there's no stupid thing to say, there's no wrong thing to say. Matter of fact, if anything, this is an opportunity for all of us, and I know I'm coming to learn, and I have a young person at home, he's at camp right now, but he has no problem with agreeing with me that, there's still some things that I can learn from a young person. So we're excited about it. Please be engaged. And if there's something we can help you with at Jefferson County Public Schools, please don't hesitate to ask. Matter of fact, this week and next week is our uniform blitz, and we're talking about young people being engaged and being active. We know that they have to be prepared for school, and so we're looking for volunteers to work actually at our clothing assistance program at the Central Stadium, which is right across the street. To help out. So if you know of anyone that are yourself willing to volunteer so that students can have the uniforms they need in order to start back school in the right way, please give us a call. But I'm excited. I'm working with one of the groups here, two great young people, and looking forward to getting work done today. All right, thank you.
And again, like I said, we are in the process of, Yeah, so what we're going to do is go ahead and go forward. Dr. Krista basically had the data, like I said, on the screen or whatnot, and computer-wise, so technology, So basically what she's going to do is go off of, the hard copy. So next up is Dr. Krista from JCPS.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Krista Drescherberg from the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Poverty Programs at JCPS. And Mr. Fields asked me to talk a little bit today about some of the data within JCPS. I'm trying to make it not too technical, but I really want to talk about what this means and how you young people can give us some insight on this and why we see so many discrepancies in academics and behavior incidents. So Mr. Fields asked me to focus mostly on discipline and behavior referrals. So we're not going to really talk about academic achievement, but we do know that behavior is a big concern with academic achievement, and we see that it's a challenge. Okay. Well, Ms. Major Brown can see this. She's the only one right now. But we know that JCPS is a very diverse student body with over 100,000 students. We have a huge school district, and there are 123 languages spoken, and fewer than half of our students are white now. We're down to 47% students are white. Almost 36% are African American. We also know that 6,400 students are homeless. We have a huge homeless population within JCPS as well. And 2/3 are eligible for free and reduced price lunch. So our students are facing a lot of challenges outside of the school, outside of their schools. Also, data from the police department has told us that 2,000 children, more than 2,000 children are exposed to domestic violence every year that results in a police report. So that doesn't even count the kids who are seeing domestic violence at home that don't result in a police report. Okay, so we're going to move on into behavior, which is really the meat of this presentation. So if at any point if anything's not clear, and I know this is going to be really challenging because you don't see it up here, but if anything isn't clear, you need me to repeat anything, please stop me. Or if you have a comment or question, we're going to go, I welcome that. Okay? So one of the things that we know is really important to discipline in a school is the climate of a school. So how students and teachers relate to one another, how people feel when they come into a school. So that's all related to the climate of a school. So we know that discipline is very much related to the climate of a school. Okay, I'm going to pause while Mr. Fields hands out the hard copy. The sense of belonging was the strongest predictor of suspension and achievement. Okay, so if you take a minute to just look at these numbers, this is really interesting to me. So students who had multiple suspensions in a school, 43% said they felt like they didn't belong in their school. There was not a sense of belonging in their school. So those are the students who've been suspended 2 or more times. So we know that feeling belonging in your school, if you don't feel belonging in your school, you're more likely to be suspended at school. And in part of our breakout session later, I want to explore this a little bit more, why we think this is. So please start thinking about how belonging relates to suspension and behavior problems. 35% of the kids who were suspended more than once said they didn't feel like they had an adult ever say positive things to them. So 35% of our kids who are being suspended multiple times don't have an adult who has a positive impact on their lives, who doesn't say positive things to them. Okay, so this is, I want you to think about this, the youth here in the audience, about talking about this when we get into our breakout sessions and digging into this a little bit more. Okay, next slide, the 9th slide. I want you to take a minute to read this, so I'm not just speaking at you. Does everybody have a copy? You don't have? Do we have any more hard copies? Can you share?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So this slide is really about perception of punishment and how punishment is given out. So 53% of students say the same punishment for breaking the same rules. So most students don't believe that different students will get the same punishment for the same offense. Okay? So two different people can maybe talk back to the teacher. One student will get suspended and one student will get a talking to from the teacher. So for the same event, most students believe that discipline is given out differently. A lot of students say that they don't understand the expectations at their school. So this is something to think about too. If you don't know what is expected from you for your behavior, if our kids are not understanding that, how do we expect you and how do we expect them to follow the rules and to act like they're supposed to act? And then a lot of kids believe that punishments for student misbehavior are fair. So we know also that if kids don't believe that the punishment is fair, they're not going to follow the rules. It's going to result in disengagement. Okay. So when we get into our breakout sessions, I want to talk a little bit more about why I think this is the case and how students at your school feel about punishments given out, if they're fair. Sorry, I'm a little thrown off. It's not having that. Think about it. Okay. So why does perception of discipline matter? Why does it matter if students think discipline is fair? Why can't we just say, well, these are the rules and you do it or you don't? It doesn't matter what you think. Well, you can read what the research says there, but essentially what it means is that when students think discipline isn't fair, they're going to miss school and they're going to drop out. So it means students are not engaged, they don't know how to they feel like things are not fair, so why bother you going to school? Okay? So I want you to think about, too, why dropout and discipline would be related to punishment. Okay? And what can students and school staff do to improve this? I don't know if anybody has followed the news, but today within JCPS, is a big board event where we're going to be discussing the code of conduct. We're going to talk a little bit more about the big event with that a little bit in a few minutes. But the big thing with that, there's a big part with the code of conduct, trying to make it more fair. Okay. So fairness of school discipline policies was a factor in academic resilience and school connectedness. That's another thing that research has found. And essentially what that means, if punishment is fair, if it's given out fairly, everybody understands the expectations, students are more likely to feel a sense of belonging in their school and to perform better academically. So if students believe that punishment is fair, they will perform better academically and they're going to show up for school. So it's really about how the students feel punishment is given out. This is not saying that students don't think anybody should be punished. They think punishment should be fair. Okay, so next we're going to move into specific JCPS data. So I'm assuming that most of you guys go to school within JCPS. So I want you to think about how this relates to your school and to your own peer group or to your teachers or the school staff. Okay, is everybody on this slide that says behavior and academics are highly interconnected? Take a minute to look at this, because this really startled me. I want to look very closely at this. This says that students who have been suspended more than once, only 9% of them are reading on grade level. 9%. So that means 91% are reading at least a year below grade level. For the kids who've been suspended once, only 15% are reading on grade level. And this is really hard any way you look at it. And I would love to get your all's input when we break out into the groups or to really talk about this and why is that? Is that because the kids who are having trouble in school tend to act out more and get suspended? Or is it because the suspensions make it really hard to engage in school and it's more difficult to keep up with your schoolwork? But this is, if you can't read, we all know that it's really hard to keep engaged in school. You can't read well. So this is what we need to figure out. We need your input on why this is a problem. And then when we figure out why it's a problem, that's when we can move forward with some solutions. Okay. Did this surprise anybody with this? It really, really surprised me with the 9% and 15% of kids reading on grade level. It's very startling. Okay, the next page. Race and poverty, it's important to understand. What this says is that of all the suspensions given, 61% are given to Black kids eligible for free and reduced price lunch. 60% of all suspensions. So overall, 84% of suspensions are given to kids eligible for free and reduced price lunch. Is that disparity? That's disparity. And we don't know, is that a cultural concern? Is it, what is going on with that? I'm sure it has something to do with stuff going on outside of school. We know that's got to have something to do with it. But this is a real problem. So we know that suspensions are bad all the way around. School disengagement, dropout, low academic performance. So we need to figure out a way to reduce these suspensions before we can figure out ways to address the academics. And on the next slide, you'll see that suspensions are going up. They're up over last year. In elementary school, we've seen a 71% in suspensions in 1 year. So in this past school year, there were 19,000 suspensions almost. That is a lot of days out of school that kids are missing. And that could be 3-day suspension, it could be a 6-day suspension, or it could be a 1-day suspension. So this is a lot of days of school missed that we have to figure out how to change this. So what we want to hear is why do you guys think suspensions are going up? What's going on in the schools? What's going on with your peers? What's going on with you? Why would suspensions be going up? What's your opinion on this? So what are kids getting suspended for? A lot of things. But we know on the next page that 83% of referrals are minor events. They're not violent events, they're not drug events, they're not weapons, they're not fighting. They're minor events like disruptive behavior or cussing at your teacher or being late to class. 83% are for minor events. That's when you get a referral. You go to the assistant principal or you get in trouble. On the next page, this is what they're for. So in middle school and high school, disruptive behavior, which we're going to talk more about in a minute. Disruptive behavior and failure to obey staff. In high school, failure to obey staff and disruptive behavior. So most of these referrals are for failure to obey the teacher and this generic disruptive behavior that we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Okay? So if you look on the next page, what happens with these referrals? So the resolution can be anywhere from you have to talk to your teacher, your parents are called, or you're suspended. You can be suspended for disruptive behavior. You can be suspended for profanity. So remember that 83% of the referrals were for minor events, but about half of the resolutions are suspension or detention. So 83% are minor events, 50% you're being taken out of the classroom. You're either being suspended or, exclusion. That's ISAP or suspension. You're taking out away from your classmates. This is pretty startling to me too. For minor events, you can be taken out of your classroom. So you get farther behind in your studies, become more disengaged, you're out of class. Okay? And then the next page shows the top resolutions, which for high school and middle school is suspension, in school, out of school, or detention. Okay. So the next thing I want to move on to is what is this disruptive behavior referral that we've been talking about. Now this is a big thing. If anybody in here has read any of the Courier Journal or heard any news, disruptive behavior is a big thing that's on the Code of Conduct. So I want to talk about the disruptive behavior. So as I was starting to say, this is what is happening at the school board meeting tonight, is that people are going to be talking about disruptive behavior. And if you hear about it on the news, hopefully this will give you some insight into what this means. Okay, so the definition is on the 22nd slide. Disruption is any deliberate action by a student that interferes with the educational process. That is very, very vague, pretty wide open. So it's kind of the other category. If a student is disrupting a room, but the teacher doesn't have another way to classify it, they can file that under disruption. And you can be suspended for disruptive behavior. Okay? As it stands currently, deliberate disruption means you're eligible for a 3-day suspension. You can be suspended for 3 days for disruptive behavior. Okay. So on the next page, there's a little word that says, African American students were more likely to receive referrals for subjective offenses such as disrespect, excessive noise, etc. And white students were more likely to receive referrals for objective things like smoking or vandalism or obscene language. Okay? So the difference between an objective event and a subjective event, can anybody tell me what that means? What's an objective event? Does anybody know? An objective is something that's very clear cut. Like, I have brown hair, or I was smoking. That's very objective. Subjective means it's really open to interpretation. Like, Delphine over there is bothering me. It's just subjective. There's no clear cut for that, okay? So just to reiterate, white students were punished for referred for objective offenses. Black students are referred for subjective offenses more often. So this is part of what the Code of Conduct meeting tonight is going to be discussing, making these referrals more objective to reduce some of the bias. Okay, on the next page, I'm just going to read the translation. So when teachers are more caring and expect a lot from their students, students trust them and follow directions. And this says that students and teachers are both responsible for student conduct. So if teachers are not respectful of students, what do you think the students do? They might be more likely to act. But if teachers are respectful of students and students are respectful of teachers, there aren't as many behavior referrals. So that's on the teachers and the school climate as well as on the students. So we're here to hear what you think about that. Okay. Okay, so a little bit more about the Code of Conduct, which, as I said, is happening tonight. So there is some discussion about it, and some of the reason that we want to do that is because of this subjectivity. There's variability of judgment. So we don't know what I think of something might be different from what you think of something, and that happens because we're humans. So we need to try to remove that from behavior incidents. Okay? Okay, we're almost out of time. Let's see. And subjectivity on the next page. Remember that I said that black kids are referred for subjective events, white kids are referred for objective events. Remember that. So disruptive behavior is pretty subjective. It's the catch-all, as I said. It can be really great thing. Okay, last part we're going to talk about here is this disruptive behavior and suspensions and why it's such a huge deal. So remember earlier slide that said disruptive behavior is one of the top referrals for suspension. Okay, so this slide just shows you when a kid gets referred for disruptive behavior. When you get referred for disruptive behavior, this is the amount of referrals that end up in suspension. So it's pretty even for black and white students. The black students are slightly more likely to be suspended, but it's pretty even. The next page, though, is the troubling part. It's not the suspensions for disruptive behavior, it's the referrals for disruptive behavior. The black kids are referred for disruptive behavior 3 times as often as the white kids are. So this means that for 3 times the number of events, black kids are eligible for suspension. Okay, so it's just they referred more often likely to be suspended for that. Okay, so the next page shows you the raw numbers of suspensions. So we see that overall, Black students account for 1,200 of the suspensions for disruptive behavior, and white students for 353. Okay, now this doesn't even count the difference in the population of the schools. White students make up a larger percentage of the population. So the disparity is really even bigger than these numbers show. Okay? All right. So that's about all I've got. So if there are any questions or comments, I think we have a few minutes to hear from anything, anything that wasn't clear, anything that we want to be sure to talk about in our breakout rooms. If not, that's it. Yes, step one.
Do you believe that with the disparity between African American students and white students when it comes to results of this is it because of the background of the student, because you talked about free or reduced lunch and things that you feel like it's on the student situation, or should it be some more light shined on the teacher or those who are handicapped with this?
Well, we definitely think within JCPS that there is a lot of room for improvement for cultural competence and cultural training. So we know that most of the teachers are white females, and fewer than half of our students are white students. So, and we know that 2/3 of our students are eligible for free or reduced price lunch. Different backgrounds, come from different parts of town, and we know that there are going to be some differences in misunderstandings. So definitely JCPS has some work to do on improving the cultural competence of teachers.
How do they go about doing that?
Well, Delquan and I are both part of diversity, equity, poverty programs. So equity is a huge part of that. Equity and inclusion is in our department. So we do have a big focus on cultural competence, doing training, professional development. Really, I think JCPS is very progressive in diversifying our teachers, our teaching body. And we have a huge school district. It's a huge district. So we do have a lot of challenges, but I think that JCPS is really working toward equity and inclusion with teachers and students. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a role for reach out to families in this case? Because as I look at the elementary areas, that's where parents have youngest children. And yet I see huge numbers of, in fact, 71% is what you said from one year to the next year as far as
For suspensions.
since I saw the numbers so high for elementary as far as suspensions.
Right.
In your department, what are you doing to help families support their children? Because there is a role, especially for elementary kids. You know, once kids get up into high school, but the influence of the family is not as pronounced. It's there, but it's not as pronounced. What do we do to help parents help their children in that case?
If I want you all to get how many of you all have cell phones? Okay. I want you to get your cell phone out, go to Google, look up JCPS, first task is to ask. Okay? Okay. And now, first task is to ask is the resource tools from our department that are basically made for parents and families and community leaders to equip families to know what they need to ask, what they need to know when it comes to not only dealing with behavior, but academics and various issues. We need to pay attention, make sure our students are successful. So I know we're running short on time. I can talk more about it. But in addition to that, we're actually taking charge this year to try to gather more community-based institutions like LCCC to create these forums, create the dialogue so that people can be informed And, you know, initially, when I was talking to Dr. Berg, of course, he came around, like, you know, you talk to students, so can't be too heavy on the data. But then the realization is, I don't know how often students get to see the data, so to see them respond to hearing that information is one thing to know it, but to see the data, and so making sure that folks get the data, it's not always sexy, but make sure they get the data so that they can start thinking about it in another way, especially students, so when they're in that situation with their peers, to make sure that they can help make better decisions.
JCPS in particular, our department is working on to help students with parental involvement. We do only have the kids 6 hours, and we know it's a huge issue that is very little time for only a few months out of the year. We have a lot of work to do. Anything else? Any other questions? I'll be here. I'm here all day.
Thank you, Dr. Berg. What we're going to do is kind of move on just really quick. Next up, we'll just introduce Ms. Bonnie Freeman, Bonnie Lash Freeman. She's actually one of the board members as well. And just to really touch on Ms. Berg, thank you for bringing that, that data, and they'll find you right. So that's something we'll kind of get to in the breakout session as far as trying to, kind of relate that and whatnot.
You, and we're so happy that you're here. One of the things that we want to do now is to hear from you. We have talked enough, and what we want to do is to be sure to hear from all of you. So facilitators, would you go to your spaces? We've got 2 in here and 2 out there. Okay.
Before we adjourn this session, I did want to get into and re-welcome those young people and adults that joined us since we began. We're glad that you're here with us. This is really about dialogue, so y'all get ready to talk. I know you used to sit and looking at adults talk in these kind of settings, but this is about your time to engage in conversation and dialogue. I want to take 1 minute before we do the breakout and acknowledge this panel of youth that are sitting here at the front and kind of explain to you why they're up there. They, have been here at LCCC as a part of the summer youth employment program, Mayor's Summer Works program. And they've had an opportunity to participate in the planning of today. And so they're going to be engaged in each of these 4 groups as peers, as your peers, who will lead the conversation in case you all don't know how do I get in on this. And if nothing else, I'd like for you to follow what they say and correct them if they need to be corrected, or add your opinion to what they've said, because it's all about dialogue. It's all about hearing from everybody in here. So our facilitators will be encouraged to make sure that we get at least 1 comment from every young person who is here today. And I want to express to you why that is so critically important. This is about creating solutions to problems. You all saw the data that Dr. Krista Drescher-Berg presented. And, there's many of us, and I'm sure you all are too, very concerned about that. We want to see it change. So this is about how do we create change. So please participate. Please participate. We're going to get into 4 groups. You want to do that? We're going to do kind of a count off. We're going to start here, and we're going to just do 1, 2, 3, 4 count. We've got 4 setups, 4 breakup setups. This is group number 1. This is group number 2. Only Ingram is sitting at table 2. That's group number 2. This is group 1. So if you would, Patrick, raise your hand. That's group 1. And then group 3 is going to be when you go out this door, go out toward the bigger room. We call it atrium. There is a set of tables and chairs chair right there, that's number 3. And then across the corner, far corner in the atrium is number 4. Y'all got that, right?
Thank you for doing that. We're going to move on and take the next question.
What do police officers y'all feel need to do differently than what you all
Stop beating up people. Stop beating up.
situations that are like why would they begin to be like?
Because they might be doing something wrong, or like if the police might have a bad day and like they got the person done, they just start beating them up for no reason.
Cheer. Is that half the cheer? No, I just cheered the rest of it. Send a cheer. So I know you guys.
Students and children. I can do it.
I haven't heard from you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Have you had any peers or classmates? Have you seen it and hurting any peers academically? How about you, Kelly?
I guess cooperate better.
Cooperate better, please. Well, this is what can law enforcement do better? Do differently?
Law enforcement cooperate better with.
Oh, with the police,
You got something?
How about you? You're in high school, right? Are you in high school? Oh, you're in. Can you tell us anything that you've seen or think that law enforcement can do differently? Nothing? Everything's PG? All right, good. Next question. Really? Nobody's got anything?
I don't understand the question.
What, do you think that the police do anything to make kids not do well at school? Like anybody has?
Well, maybe like something might happen, like police in their family, like crazy.
Baxter shoot hoops. You know, we got to go shoot some mob, me, you, and him. What are some things that we run into a police officer that we can do in order to give respect to them? If y'all were out, y'all were going, y'all were headed over to not O'Malley's, going to Club Live, going to Club Live and going to a DJ Little Car Party. What are some things that y'all can do on your way in to where you can earn respect from police?
The police are Club Live.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, period. Just period.
They know better.
Well, I'm just period. Just if you were on your way, somewhere downtown, to a function, whatever the case, what are some things that we can do as regular people to, gain respect from the police or get respect from them? I mean, is it just, how do y'all feel about introducing yourselves to the police at that time?
Sometimes when I looked at the video, he was on the phone, and it was an emergency. Somebody ran up to him, and he was like, wait a second. And he was like, I'm on the phone.
That's the only reason this place
Also, what is the reasonable thing that teachers disrespecting the student?
Because students don't listen, they just like talking, like the teacher just talking and stuff.
So is it partly like, as bad as I was still go home and get my butt if I were, and I was afraid of that. So is that not like so much today? Is that not the case? He is not afraid of what's going to happen at home.
Who else? Give me top 3 problems, and how would you fix it? Go ahead, man.
One of the problems I would probably say probably teacher and student relations. Like a lot of teachers don't understand what some of the students that are acting out, they really don't understand like what they're going through. So I feel like the solution would be like, it's ridiculous that most people that live practically like in downtown area, like if there's a school around the corner from you, it's silly that you have to go like an hour or 20 minutes to get to your school. So a lot of it is, you know, parents can't really afford to get out there to better their relations with students. So I feel like maybe if we go to a school closer to you, that can strengthen the relationships with students and parents and teachers.
So lack of cultural awareness.
Yeah. Well, it's also a geographic issue there too. You know, proximity to school are the barriers for transportation for parents to get with the school. I mean, that's very critical.
I have to go back to my center and process what you all are saying so that I can teach them, so that when they interact with them, it's better and different. So thank you. I think out of all the questions, this one was the most informative. We're going to move on to the next question.
Yeah, I think the prejudice piece of it out. And what I mean by that is, if I'm being pulled over with a suit and tie, am I being treated differently? This might be pulled over and feels wearing his gym clothes. And that's just the reality of things. And how do we get to a point where that prejudice piece is taken out? You shouldn't have to do something like that and protect your child.
It's like, how are they going to know that he's a bank key of the car? Even his wallet. Are they going to be fair? An opportunity or, we got this. You know, so.
And I'd also flip it back to what he said though too. There has to be a respect factor. So from the youth standpoint, you can't think all police officers are bad. And the reality is we're influenced by parents, we're influenced by media, we're influenced by a lot of things. And I know personally, you know, there's been certain police officers that really helped me in bad situations. So we got to have that respect factor as well.
So that community policing.
What your role is in this project?
Okay. Well, in this project today, our office provided the scribes for the breakout sessions, but I'm also just walking around listening to all of the sessions because we're going to develop a report based on the information gathered today. So it was just my job to kind of walk around and help facilitate where needed, but to also just have an ear at all of the tables so that it could better help me when I'm going back to write the report for this event.
With the University of Louisville, what are y'all specifically doing over here, and how does that connect to this project?
Okay, so our office is the Office of Public Health Practice, and we are a community-engaged research hub within the School of Public Health, and so our role is really to act as a liaison between the university and community partners, where we work with community stakeholders like LCCC to help address whatever issues are prioritized by community. A lot of the things that are prioritized in this area, specifically West Louisville, has been around violence and violence prevention. So our office has come in to kind of help facilitate and develop and implement strategies related to violence prevention work, and also to evaluate those efforts. And so our presence here has a lot to do with building relationship with community so that they know that we're here, and so that we're readily seen and visible so that people know that we're here to assist in the ways that we can offer in our assistance.
So you've been here about a year now, 2 years?
It's been 2 years now. In June, it was 2 years.
So what kind of outcomes have you seen?
Well, I mean, we're still very new. So our first year was literally just kind of getting a lay of the land and learning to understand what's going on in West Louisville, meeting who we need to meet, and so trying to identify our place and where we're needed. Over this past year, we were recently funded as a National Center of Excellence for Youth Violence Prevention from the CDC, and so now that has become our focal point, and we were just awarded back in September, so we're still very new even in that project. So we don't have outcomes and results as of yet, but they're coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad to see you participate today. What's been your take on this project this morning?
I think we've heard tremendous input from the young people. They were a little slow at first, but they gained in momentum. And I think we as adults need to have these kinds of exercises more often so the young people have an outlet and it doesn't become so challenging when they are asked questions. They have an outlet. So more of these kinds of events.
Have you heard anything that's novel or different to impact you?
anything that I've not heard before from my own kids. I think what these young people have shown me is that they're willing to be the leaders. They understand that sooner or later they are going to be the ones making policy. And I think that is a major difference that some of us need to take away from some what we call bad youth versus good youth. There is no bad and good youth. There are youth that are engaged and there are youth that are not engaged. These youth are engaged.
How did the workshop go today? How did the workshop go today?
I think the workshop went extremely well. All the children participated and gave excellent input. They gave me something to take back to my center that I can apply to the programs that I offer at my particular community center.
And who are you?
I'm Renee Douglas Smith, Center Supervisor of the Baxter Community Center, Metro Parks.
And what were some of the things you heard from the youth today that kind of impacted you?
As adults, we need to listen more. We need to show them the respect that we're expecting them to show us. We need not rush to judgment. We need to take the time to listen to what they have to say and process what they have to say and work together with them to identify programs and opportunities that will be beneficial to them going forward.
Some people might say, well, we had a full youth summit today. It was a great activity, and we're going to wrap it up and begin to process on what the breakout sessions. I do want to acknowledge a couple of our partners. At this moment, we're going to acknowledge everybody before we get out of here. But in this phase, we do have a great partnership with the University of Louisville through the Office of Public Health Practice. We're so pleased to have them here doing great work on behalf of our community and addressing issues that are near and dear to us around youth and the same issues we're talking about today, youth and the barriers to success. So I'm going to call upon the leader of the Office of Public Health Practice, Monique Ingram, who will begin to help us to process on what this dialogue session means. You all had great conversations with the four groups. We had a chance to visit around and see each of you engaged. And one thing I observed as I went around is we got some real leaders in here when it comes to young people. So Monique, if you would like at least one, if not a few more, leaders who will come up and represent your work, and I'm going to ask Monique to facilitate that. So I'm going to turn it over to Monique.
Hey guys, so we are going to turn all of this information into a report for you all. So right now we're going to have each group or representative, 1 or 2 representatives from each group come up and kind of discuss some of what you talked about. I know that you guys talked about a lot of stuff, so don't feel the need or the pressure to have to go over everything. Just pick some of the barriers that you all talked about and then make sure you talk about some of the solutions you came up with as well. So who are the representatives for group 1?
Our first problem that we had was we're a youth service organization, and some of the solutions that we came up with were to listen to what is really going on. So like, what do I describe this? So maybe
service programs will young be exercised and video games and Xbox. Actually, young what they want officer choices.
Okay, so like maybe having services at community centers that'll help kids doing their homework, such as tutors and things like that. And then our second one that we did was law enforcement and lately in the media, we've seen that officers have been killing black folk. So we were trying to come up with solutions for that. So some of that we got were not being brutal and calmly addressing situations. So instead of just taking out a gun and shooting somebody, just like approach the situation like, did you do this, or just ask conversations.
Chris will go for Swanee, because like when we get our person down, the police officers start asking them and
Okay. And the next one we did was adult leaders, and pretty much what that was about was just how would we what solutions could we come up for with attitudes and behavior mishaps. So some that we came up were waking up at night, up nicer, so like parents waking your child up or taking the responsibility of having an alarm clock. And then one more that we had was having a set bedtime for youth so that behavioral problems wouldn't happen as much, so kids weren't as tired and they could learn more. And then the next one that we did were school officials.
Less strict, making more big deals out of little things, more repetition, using positive language, dealing with things, not bragging, personal, school, working alongside students, connecting with students, let students talk more, be more personal, be kind to students, be nice, give opportunity to tell stories, onwards, vertical, rewards.
And that was pretty much about teachers really not going off and getting mad straight to the problem. So those are some of the solutions, like being less strict, so students wouldn't feel less controlled and eager to do things. And then our last one we had was another law enforcement, and it was pretty much the first one that we did, but we had a few more solutions. So it was like stop beating up people, and addressing the situation calmly, and addressing the situation, and no name calling or assumptions. So that was pretty much the same thing.
supposed to be doing. And, just because some of the consequences are easier for kids. They need to help them for assignments, lead by example, do what's right.
Said that the teachers should show that they care, practice of discipline, get to know the students should get to know the teachers outside of school. And our grade range was from 6th to 11th grade. And in school we said that what goes on against racism. Most teachers stay in their classroom and they should be more engaged. They said schools should create a safe zone for when students feel discriminated against by a teacher.
The second one that we did was law enforcement officers, and we talked about how some are racist and target black males most of the time, and like when we're in the West End, they don't get out of their cars and interact with people playing basketball. But if you go to the East End, you'll find officers interacting with like white kids and stuff. And sometimes even when we're respectful to the police, they still shoot us sometimes. And a good thing what you should do is resist, because that can just escalate and give them a reason to lock them up. And you should use your words more. And I think that they should use less non-lethal force, like just hitting us down, instead of shooting us.
The next one is youth service organizations and programs. We said outside of school, we do dance, basketball, cheerleading, and drama. STEAM programs. We said that some of us don't hear about some programs, which we should, so we can get more engaged in our community and have be more occupied and stay out of the streets. And we talk about agriculture programs and trading. So it's a program you feel and you can go to see the trading and you can make more money.
The last group that we went over was youth. And maybe our youth should try to communicate with teachers and officers, white people, better than what we are. And even if we're not going to respect our teachers and officers, we should try to respect them at all times. And you should try to take more responsibility for your actions. And you should consistently have respect and responsibility for your life. And you should lead people instead of following people who are looking. And you should control your body language at all times. Don't look like you aren't interested with a teacher's lesson. And you should make eye contact with anyone talking to you. And you should use your manners anywhere you go. You should have courage. Believe in yourself and have confidence.
Alright, so our group, we kind of had a lot of friendly debates on different topics, which was fun. But we started out with barriers, basically what are the barriers we face in school and with the community. So we started out with the bad teachers, and basically just those teachers who really don't care about the students. Then we moved into a broader topic with racial inequalities, how the discipline issues really aren't the same for and equal across the board. Then we moved on to racial bias for the teachers, you know, having favorites and picking and choosing which students they show favoritism to. Then we moved down to student voices. The students not being respectful, which is possibly some of the problem why we have bad teachers. Then the curriculum design, how most of the classes, well not most of them, but a lot of the classes that we have to take are really pointless. When, you know, someone said like they had to take 3 years of foreign language, or you have to take 3 years to graduate with AP, you could be doing something more useful with your time in school. Then we moved to the requirements, how some of the requirements, that's kind of the curriculum, and how learning styles are different. We want the teachers to understand how students learn different, and you should be able to respect them. She's going to get ready a little more on that.
And then we talked about substitute, how you know you don't respect current rules, and then we talked about how you disrespect the sub, and like you don't do the same thing you do to the teachers directly to your own teacher, you just like don't respect the rules, you just do everything different and not the same thing. And then we talked about police and community relations. We did racist cops, like how they're so quick to like shoot blacks and dogs. Like for example, this black man, he pulled his, he was trying to get his license and stuff out for it to show the police officer that he had a license for his gun that he had, and the police thought he was pulling out a weapon or whatever, and then the police officer shot him and didn't think twice about it. And then we get drugs and violence and crime in the community. Lots of shooting involves with children being shot over stupid stuff about they think they're cool or they want to be in the gang or whatever. Yeah.
So then we moved over to like, so we have all of these problems, but what are the solutions to fix them? So like what she said with substitutes, some of the solutions should be like setting the ground rules. Someone used a scenario of like a babysitter. You know, we have parents saying this is how you need to interact, this is how you should act. If not, this is what's going to happen. So those ground rules with the principal, you know, you have a substitute come in, check, parents come to school, also checking in, but also another solution with the policing community, social media. You know, the media always highlights the negative stuff that police officers do and the negative stuff that happens. Sometimes if just a young person go on their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just post like, hey, there was this police officer, he did this, just to get the word out so we can realize that not all law enforcement are bad. And then teaching kids at a young age that police officers aren't bad, not when you're driving, boy, you need to sit down or the police officer's gonna lock you up. How about, sir, can you talk to my child and explain to him what's gonna happen if you go down this path? Then with drugs, better income, because a lot of young people really are doing drugs because peer pressure and, you know, just lack of income in their household. So if you provide more summer jobs or more stuff, then she is like, well, you don't need summer jobs, you can just babysit or cut grass. So, you know, having kids take the initiative to just want a better life and better solutions. So that's kind of what we have.
Speak, and you have the opportunity for your voice to be heard. Speak. Okay? Thanks, Monique. Okay, how was that? Did you all enjoy the session? Yes? Raise your hand if you enjoyed the session. I did. Okay, let's give our youth a standing ovation because they did a remarkable job. Our youth leaders there are future parents, teachers, police officers, business leaders, community leaders, and so it is important that each and every time we get the opportunity that we make notice and we applaud them and commend them on a job well done. So good job today. I appreciate it. There are a number of people that were represented in the groups today. We have all the groups consisted of family leaders, we have parents, we have aunts, uncles, cousins, and others, godparents, community leaders, business leaders, as well as our youth leaders. So we had a good, well-rounded group of individuals in all 4 groups. It sounds like, from just looking at all the papers here, that we had some really good dialogue as well. I was able to go around to several of the groups and kind of listen in to what you all were talking about, and it sounded like everybody was talking. Everybody gave some really great ideas and suggestions, and our plan is to start using this as a foundation to work from. Was everybody listened to and respected during the sessions? Did everybody feel like you had a voice? Raise your hand if that answer is yes. I don't see everybody's hands. Okay. A very important group, and somebody special to me, some people very special to me were represented in the groups. And they are police officers. And so the reason we inserted them is because we wanted them to be part of the dialogue. Okay? Can you all stand? Great reveal. I asked these guys and ladies, would you please come and help me do something? And I told them what we were trying to achieve, and they said, of course. What time do I need to be there? So we had them to come in plain clothes because we did not want them to know, you all to know who they were, because it could possibly stifle the conversation. But it did not, and I'm glad. And one of the things I heard or saw on all of these boards is that you just wanted to be heard from the officers, treated with respect, and there was another one I saw that was really good. Personal interactions. And I think all 4 of these officers did that today. Is that not right? So, we're not making it about them, but we've already started achieving one of our goals and solutions, correct? They're human. And so they're all parents. Well, most of them. She adopted mine. But they're family leaders, they're community leaders, some of them are actually business leaders, and so they're just people like us, right? Okay. And so I just wanted to applaud them for their participation. I appreciate you all participating today. I appreciate the youth coming out today. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was telling them that my mother always made it a point. Anytime we had a break, spring break, Christmas break, summer break, we always had something lined up to do. And just when we thought we were going to sleep in, that didn't happen, because she was always looking for that free program to send us to. And it made a difference. So I appreciate you all being here. I hope you got something from the sessions today. I know we learned a lot from you all. There was a lot of really good ideas that came out of this. So this is a platform for us to work from. Thank you.
And please, Major Brown and Philip Thomas, who co-led our planning and did an excellent job. So thank you both. We really appreciate it. I don't want to be redundant. Major Brown hit a lot of the key points that I wanted to touch on as a part of my closing remarks. But I think it's really great to know that we had a good representation of our community in this room today. You know, we had business leaders, we had law enforcement officers, educators, youth leaders, church leaders, service organizations, you know, and the list goes on. And that's what community is all about. So I want to thank you all again for being a part of this day. This is the beginning of something. Haven't forgot you. And I do want to echo what I thought was a real emerging theme that came out of this. You know, we started this process trying to figure out what problem are we really going to try to address? Because these are solution summits. We're here to come up with answers to questions that plague us. So what are the barriers that we want to try to overcome? So I want to thank Dr. Krista Drescher-Burke, who brought a great presentation about some of the issues in public schools, specifically around school suspension, right? And how that correlates with education. So we know that when you lose time in the classroom due to suspension students, all of us, any of us who experience that, it's a net loss on our opportunity to get a full education. So we talked about that today, and I think came up with a room full of great ideas. One of those ideas that I heard loud and clear was this issue of respect. You know, we all have an innate need to feel a sense of respect. But let me just give you just my 2 cents worth of thought around this word respect. First of all, I believe that respect should be freely given from one person to another at all times. A person does not have to earn my respect. I give it freely, right? That's different from trust. Now, trust is a different matter. When you trust someone, then that means you're dependent on them, right? So when you depend on someone, they would have had to earn that trust because you're giving them some power, because, you know, you depend on them. But respect is the other way around. Give it, because guess what? When all of us give respect at all times, we also receive it, because everybody's in the business of giving it. So we talked about that from a police and community standpoint. You know, we need to respect our police officers. Police officers need to respect, you know, us, all of us, our young and our old. So I want to thank you all for participating in that dialogue. Stay tuned, there's more to come. I do want to take a minute to acknowledge all of our sponsors and partners. Jefferson County Public Schools is a great partner. Thank you, team, for being here. Metro United Way, of course, is always behind us, got our back at all times at LCCC. Republic Bank, thank you. The pizza was on Republic, so let's give them a hand for providing pizza today. And not only did they have pizza, they brought great leadership in Philip Thomas, so we're glad to have Philip as a new member of our board. He also brought his colleague, Patrick Kane from Fifth Third Bank, so thank you for being here. Louisville Metro Police Department, thank you for being here today in full force and for doing a great job for our community. You guys have been really active in our community, and we really, really appreciate you. Simmons College of Kentucky, Letty Johnson was here. Where's Letty? Thank you. We're creating a pipeline from LCCC to Simmons. So if you were interested in going to school, getting a degree, getting a job, starting a career, Simmons is an avenue that we strongly advocate. Metro Parks, I want to thank Renee Douglas. Renee is a great community partner. I'm going to ask Renee to come up in a minute and share a little bit. University of Louisville, thank you again. Monique Ingram, all of the scribes today came from the team from University of Louisville Office of Public Health Practice. So thank you. Thank you so much. Also want to thank LCCC, its leadership, Mr. Watkins. Thank you. And thank you for the staff that also supported this effort. I may be overlooking one or two. When I said JCPS, I included Delquan, so make sure he knows as well. All right, so we had a few planning sessions leading up to this day. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to forget our board of directors. Mr. Watkins, we got two board members here. raise your hand. Ms. Bonnie Lash-Freeman, who really gave us good instruction and great support, great leadership as a part of our team. Thank you, Bonnie. But in our planning session, we talked about a lot, and some of what came out of it was this theme that we put on this Structure and Pride Youth Summit. And some of that came from a lot of discussion and dialogue that we had. And the idea is that young people, many of you understand that concept because you're in here because you have access to structure and you appreciate structure. You wouldn't be here if you were not. And also, I saw those of you who spoke just exuded pride, just self-pride, self-confidence, feeling a sense of being belonging to something, feeling a sense of being engaged. That's really, really important. But we felt like, some of us felt like that there wasn't enough of that going on in the community. And Renee Douglas spoke to it most loudly. So I'm gonna ask Renee just to come up and touch on it. Philip Thomas coined the phrase structure and pride, but I wanted Renee to give us just a touch of what that means to her.
Good afternoon. I am Renee Douglas Smith, Center Supervisor at the Baxter Community Center, which is around the corner here in the Russell community. I'm here today as a youth service provider, as a mother of an African American son. So my perspective today was all over the place. When I first came in, my head was all over the place because I had suffered personal loss. But interacting with the group that I interacted with today made me forget all of my personal issues, and that came up in our conversation, that we as adults bring our personal issues into our workspaces. And what are our workspaces? They're your classrooms. They're your gymnasiums that you go to. And it taught me today that I need to acknowledge what I do, and I need to stop that so that when I come in, I'm ready to listen to you as young people. Today, this forum gave us that opportunity, so thank you, Kevin, thank you, Louisville Central, for providing this opportunity, and we know that it's going to move to a bigger scale, so hopefully all of you all that were here today will come back, because pride in your community is important. Having that personal relationship with the officers in your community is extremely important, because if you don't feel safe in your neighborhood, you're not going to feel safe anywhere. So you need to be able to leave out of your home and you see officer friendly and you feel comfortable having a conversation with him. So hopefully today you took something out of one of your sessions, whether you were group 1 or group 4, that you can take back. I think the key word is relationship. So that's the word that I'm taking back to Baxter today, and I'm going to start enforcing, is encouraging that relationship, encouraging the officers. I just met 2 of the officers that are in my beat to get out of the car and engage, to come in the center and engage. And you guys don't have to wait for them to engage you, engage them. Ask them how they're doing. We had a young lady that said that. Being polite, it goes a long way. I've learned how I treat people is how they're going to treat me. And most people that know me know I'm a behind the scenes person. This is not my thing. I like to set it up. So it takes a lot of courage to get up in front of people and talk, and you all did that today. When you first came in, you looked around, you didn't want to have anything to say to anybody. You sat in your groups and you were afraid to talk, but it took that one person speaking up. You be that one person when you go back to your neighborhood and ask yourself this: if everyone in the world was just like me, what kind of world would this be? So today, go back to your neighborhood and start asking questions. Start making your youth leaders like me responsible, hold them accountable. And then look for those rewards. Those tangible rewards are the prizes that you all said you wanted. But the intangibles are that good feeling you have because you know you made a difference. I guess September is when we're coming back together. We're gonna work it out. Well, I want to extend an invitation to you all. Metro Parks has 12 community centers. Baxter is one of them. Feel free to stop by. If you can't get to my center, there is a center near you. There's the Louisville Central Community Center as well. So again, thank you, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Just A couple more just acknowledgments. I do want to acknowledge Eddie Crutcher, House of Omega, who joined our planning committee. Thank you, Eddie. Also wanted to, I was really excited that St. Stephen Church, through its summer camp program, brought a load of young people here. So I want to thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate you doing that. We had a group of young people. I want y'all to stand up. These guys on the clock. So, you know, they're still on the clock. But they helped us to organize this. And I wanted to call on Logan Robinson to come up and, on his behalf of his colleagues, give you a closing comment.
Hello, my name is Logan, and I would like to first of all thank all of you for coming here today to participate in the Youth Summit. And it was important to do this because later on, we're going to have a full community summit where we're going to invite people of all ages to come and talk about the problems facing our community and what's going on in our schools. And here today, we were able to get a lot of great insight from you guys as to what you feel are the big problems, and we'll be able to use that going forward to help plan and get an idea of what we need to do in the future. So again, thank you. And as for today's summit, you all did a great job. You were all very involved and engaged, and you gave us a lot of great information. So once again, thank you for coming out today. And that's what I'm saying.
Logan is a freshman, completed his freshman year at U of L. We're proud to say he's a graduate of our team leadership program here at LCCC. I want to call on Dr. Asha Brown to come up, and she's working with University of Louisville's team and also doing some health equity work in our community, and she's going to be our final speaker.
Hello. So, sorry, I'm not good behind the podium. I like to move around. But really quickly, because I know y'all are ready to go. So what I want to say is that today was really powerful. I really believe in the voices of young people and how powerful they can be to shape how we move forward within our community, within our society, right? So I really appreciate all of the young people for using their voices. I know a lot of times when someone walks up to you and asks you to share your opinion, you're not used to that, right? You're used to being a student and sitting behind and being told what you need to be learning and being told what you need to be saying. But I want you to understand that you are the expert in your own lived experiences, and your experiences may have some challenges in them, and those challenges, if you share those with us, we can work together as an adult, as someone in this community that works in institutions that can't make change. I can advocate for you and what changes you want to be made. And so one space that we're going to be doing this at is I also work at the Center for Health Equity through the Louisville Metro Public Health and Wellness Department, and we're hosting a policy summit that's now being called My Dream for Lou, right? So what is your dream for Louisville? And so a lot of the things that came out today, these issues that we've been talking about, we are creating a forum for young people, adults, seniors, from every sector, from government to the school system. JCPS has agreed to partner with us to bring young people during school time to come together and create the rules and the laws that affect you every day, right? So you get to write the policy, and we're going to take those policies and present them to whether that be the metro government, the mayor, whether that be the law enforcement officers, whatever that particular policy that you're interested in, you get to come and work with the rest of the community to write that policy. And so if you have a Twitter or an Instagram account, I want you to pull out your phone and follow at Lou Equity, LOUEQUITY, and there's more information about how to register for the conference. For the summit, it's October 6th through the 8th, and we are really interested in having all of you all there to share your thoughts and your ideas on how we can make changes, how we can shape policies in our community. So thank you so much.
Actually, in closing, I want to call on our CEO from Louisville Central Community Centers, Sam Watkins, who has a closing remark.
Thank you. I'm absolutely flabbergasted and so appreciative of all of you for being here, the tremendous leadership, and especially to our young leaders, our young people. I am very, very proud of you for being here today. There is simply nothing that you cannot do to set your mind and hearts to it, and I expect you to do that. Thank you very much.
Okay, y'all not moving, so we